Good morning. I hope you and your families are well. So we've been learning about Pizukei de Zimra, and we pointed out that most of Pizukei de Zimra revolves around Ashrei. And following Ashrei, we are what we refer to as Goimrei HaHalel. We finish up the Prakim of Tehillim, which forces one to ask the question, and that is, why are we not just wrapping up once we're done with the Halalukas? Once we finished the Halalukas of David HaMelech, we finished Sefer Tehillim, so why don't we just go to Yishtabach, which is the bracha achrona, if you will, of Psukei de Zimra? Why do we add in Vayivarech Dovid es Hashem le'nei kol hakol v'charoisimo habris v'yosha Hashem, and then of course Oz Yashir Moshe? What do these things have to do with Psukei de Zimra? Even Shiras Hayam, which is certainly Shira, and one might think belongs in Psukei de Zimra, it's specifically Shira on Kriyas Yamsuf. That's not the point right now. We're not thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom for every miracle that he ever did for us. This is an individual being able to sing Shira v'Sishbachos to the Rebbeinu Shalom personally. And we use the text of David HaMelech. Why is it that we institute over here to start reciting Shiras Hayam as well? So I think we could gain insight by a very interesting minhag, which is certainly very prevalent Bisman Hazeh, but really find its roots only first in the Arizal. If you take a look at the Mishnah Brura quotes the Arizal that before reciting Vayivarech Dovid, one should stand up and give tzedakah. One should be set aside that point in time of tefillah to give tzedakah. Now we know that Chazal do discuss giving tzedakah before one goes to daven, but the Arizal said it should be specifically before Vayivarech Dovid, and that's something which needs some scrutiny. What is it about Vayivarech Dovid that connects to the mitzvah of tzedakah in particular, that we're going to stop almost in the middle of Psukei de Zimra and go and give tzedakah before we continue? So if we understand where the psukim of Vayivarech David actually come from, it begins to open our eyes a bit. Vayivarech David was the bracha that David HaMelech gave Klal Yisrael right before his demise. And one who takes a look at the psukim in Divrei Hayamim sees that David HaMelech was preparing Klal Yisrael for the transition between his Malchus and the Malchus of Shlomo HaMelech. In fact, Chazal tell us that Yishtabach was when ultimately Shlomo HaMelech takes power and rises to the Kisei HaMalchus. So this process that we're reading about from Vayivarech David till Yishtabach has something to do with the transition from David HaMelech to Shlomo. And during that bracha of David HaMelech, the Psukim tell us, command Shlomo HaMelech and all of Klal Yisrael about the very details and the importance of building Beis HaMikdash. We know that David HaMelech was not allowed to build Beis HaMikdash, but it was at the forefront of his mind. And he commands Shlomo HaMelech not only in general to build Beis HaMikdash, but in the very details. And he commends Klal Yisrael for all the tremendous donations that they have given towards Beis HaMikdash. So Vayivarech David is really about the power of Klal Yisrael. You see, we have to remember that the process of tefillah, as we've pointed out so many times, is taking us through a spiritual geographical process. Down from what the Sfarim write, the Olam HaMaisa, we're discussing very earthly things, such as what's discussed in the Birchas HaShachar, and we elevate ourselves to what's referred to as the Olam HaBriya, the Olam HaMalachim. Malachim sing Shira. Psukei de Zimra, we reside in the Olam HaMalachim. We, like the Malachei HaShares, are able to sing Shira. As Psukei de Zimra comes to a close, we're expected to elevate ourselves once more as we transition from Yishtabach to the Birchas Kriya Shema through Kaddish, as every transition is, as we make the transition from the Olam HaMalachim to what's referred to as the Olam HaKisei, right before the Kisei HaKavod Kiviyachal. So we're expected to pull ourselves beyond, if you will, the Olam HaMalachim. Shira is what Malachim do. But now we have to show that we are even perhaps more worthy than the Malachim. A person, after singing the Shira to the Rebbeinu Shalom, could feel very inadequate. The Rebbeinu Shalom runs the whole world. Look what he created. We praise the Rebbeinu Shalom for everything that we're able to sense. That's what Psukei de Zimra is. But how could a person begin to think that he has any say in what happens? That he's able to influence the world at large? How could a person even begin to think that his influence perhaps could rise even above Malachi Hashares as he's attempting to do that, to break through the ceiling of the Olam HaMalachim? So here Chazal say, Vayivarech Dovid. Klal Yisrael had the same hesitation when it came to building Beis HaMikdash. Building Beis HaMikdash, we're going to build a home for the Ribono Shalom in this world, a home where the Ribono Shalom is going to reside, literally a place where heaven is going to meet earth. Is that even possible for human beings to create? And the answer David HaMelech says is, Vayivarech Dovid es Hashem le'nei kol hakol. Vayomer David, you could do it. Build the Beis HaMikdash, you will see. You will see v'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'soicham. This final section of Pesukei de Zimra is teaching us, Klal Yisrael, the koach that we have, the power that we have, the influence that we have. And just like we could build Beis HaMikdash, we could conceptually build Beis HaMikdash and climb even to higher heights, ultimately reaching the Kisei HaKavod. What makes the Malachim unique is their ability to sing Shira. What makes man unique is their Bechira, their free choice. The fact that man was Nivra, was created B'Tselem Elokim. They have free choice to act in the image of the Ribono Shalom, something which the Malachi Hashares don't have. And therefore, when we're here stressing the importance of man and how man could even rise above the Olam HaMalachim, it's all going to be about the Tselem Elokim, how we could act in the image of a God. We could mimic, if you will, the midos of the Ribono Shalom in a way that the Malachi Hashares are unable to. And that's why, for the first time, and perhaps only time, in Tefillah, we start to reference the Sfiros. L'cha Hashem HaGedula refers to tremendous chesed. The Sfira of chesed, of Gedula, the Sfira of Gevura, of Din, V'hateferes, V'hanetzach, V'hahoi. These are the Sfiros the Chazal teach us are the midos of the Ribono Shalom which he uses to run the world. And what Chazal are telling us is that a human being is able to tap into those, because we know that those spheres respond to the way that human beings are acting, and only human beings, because only human beings have Bechira. So the concept of the Ribono Shalom running this world through his spheres, it itself is a testament to the Tselem Elokim, the potency, the power that a human being has. But it's not only the midos in general, but there's one midah in particular that the Malachi Hashares seem to fail at understanding. When we talk about Adam being Nivra B'Tselem Elokim, there's a specific midah that Adam is able to understand of the Ribono Shalom that the Malachi Hashares are not. And that is the midah of Chesed. Constantly throughout Mamori Chazal, we see the Malachi Hashares arguing with the Ribono Shalom to give a certain judgment. This is what that person deserves. And the Ribono Shalom responds, but let me give him a chance to do tshuva. When it comes to Menashe Melech Yehuda, Chazal tell us the Malachi Hashares says, don't give him a chance. That's not what he deserves. But yet, the Ribono Shalom gives him a chance. And this happens countless times throughout our history. Malachi Hashares are begging the Ribono Shalom for justice. And the Ribono Shalom responds with Midas HaChesed. That's something that human beings understand and human beings could act with. Something that Malachi Hashares are not able to understand. Because to act with the Midas of the Ribono Shalom, that is a human trait. That's someone who's created B'Tselem Elokim specifically. And that's why Yishtabach, which is what we cap this section of Pesukei de Zimra with, the Sfarim tell us, is Yud Gimel, 13 praises of the Ribono Shalom in Yishtabach, corresponding specifically, if you take a look, to the Yud Gimel Midos Shel Rachamim. We focus on the Ribono Shalom's Rachanas and the human ability to be able to act in the image of God, which thereby invokes the Rachmanas of the Ribono Shalom. So if there's one focus at the end of Pezukei de Zimra, there's one focus of highlighting our Tselem Elokim, that we are going to be able to, yes, even pass the Olam HaMalachim, it's our ability to relate to the Midas of the Rebbeinu Shalom in a way that Malachim are not able to. And we do that by mentioning the Sviros, L'cha Hashem Agdula V'Agvura. And we do that by mentioning, of course, the Yud Gimel Midos Harachamim, something again, which the Malachei Hashares can't relate to. And of course, we're going to make a mention of Avram Avinu. V'charoisimo habris l'seises eretz haknani, right? Why Avram Avinu? The Amud HaChesed. And I believe that this is why we also mention the Oz Yashir, the Shiras Hayam. This has nothing to do with Kriyas Yamsuf or Yetzias Mitzrayim. Why are we singing Shiras Hayam towards the end of Pezukei de Zimra? And I believe that the answer is quite clear. Now is when we have to break that ceiling of the Olam HaMalachim and prove to ourselves and the Rebbeinu Shalom that we could even reach higher heights. What happened when Klal Yisrael wanted to sing Shira to the Rebbeinu Shalom? When the Malachei Hashares, rather, wanted to sing Shira to the Rebbeinu Shalom? Rebbeinu Shalom says, Maaseh Yodai Tavu Bayam, V'atem Oimrim Shira. My Mitzrim are drowning in the Yam, and you're going to sing Shira. Yet we know, Oz Yashir Moshe V'nei Yisrael, Klal Yisrael were able to sing Shira. Why is it that Malachei Hashares couldn't sing Shira, but Klal Yisrael were able to sing Shira? And based on how we're explaining, I think it might be that the Rebbeinu Shalom says Klal Yisrael could sing Shira because Klal Yisrael is coming towards their Shira through the lens of Chesed and Rachmanas, highlighting the fact that Klal Yisrael was saved. But the Malachei Hashares can't relate to the Midah of Chesed and Rachmanas. When they sing Shira, it's about the destruction of Rishon. And if it's solely about the destruction of Rishon, don't sing Shira, says the Rebbeinu Shalom. Maaseh Yodai Tavu Bayam, V'atem Oimrim Shira. Only Klal Yisrael, who's coming at it from a perspective of Chesed and Rachmanas towards towards Klal Yisrael, towards the salvation that the Rebbeinu Shalom sent them, only they are truly able to sing Shira. Once again, Shiras Hayam is just part of this process of highlighting the difference between Malachim and how human beings can actually climb even higher. And perhaps this is the pshat in the Arizal, why we specifically give tzedakah before Vayivarech Dovid. Tzedakah is the act which best expresses our midah of chesed, of rachmanas. Even though someone doesn't deserve anything necessarily, al pi midas hadin, we are going to give because we are rachmanim b'nei rachmanim. We are people that can relate to the midah of chesed of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and therefore we provide without asking any questions. Vayivarech Dovid, we begin to highlight the unique nature of human beings above and beyond the Olam HaMalachim. There's no better way to do that than with an act of chesed, an act of rachmanas. And we therefore get up right before Vayivarech Dovid, set aside our tzedakah, and give some tzedakah to Aniyim. I wish you all a good day.